must listen.
Good morning and welcome to KTZed Redemption, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I am your host, Jay Edgar, and I'm joined on the other corner of the screen, as always, by the wonderful KTZed. Katie, how was your week?
It's been pretty good. I've been doing a lot of planting. We got potatoes coming in this year. We have peaches. We have blueberries. It's going to be a good season.
I didn't do any of that or any potatoes this year, but I know I've got broccoli that's getting ready to come back out and crown, and I've already got some green peppers coming too, so I'm pretty excited for that.
Does broccoli come back every year?
No, it doesn't come back every year. What I did is I take, especially with being on keto, I eat a lot of broccoli. I eat a lot of fresh broccoli. So I'll either take it and peel it all off of the stalk and mince it back up. But yeah, if you take your old broccoli stalk when you're done and float it up into some water with a little bit of fertilizer in there and wait 2 weeks, it'll have roots in it and it'll grow again.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, sounds like a plan. That's how I got my potatoes. So.
Yeah, I think I've got some potatoes that are doing some islets too. So. Well, I think I think I know where we need to start off with this before we do anything else, because you've got an announcement to make, and subsequently, as soon as you're done with that, I've also got an announcement to make. So why don't you tell the audience what's happening here?
So this is my last episode of KTZed Redemption, and we've agreed to call it quits, and it's good for both of us. But we're still going to be hanging out, and you might see us on stream together from time to time, and. Man, I should have prepared a speech. That's it. That's the announcement.
Well, and yeah, going on with that too, I've chosen, and I gave it a couple days thought, but it was kind of floating around in my head a little bit before I found out your plans to go a different direction as well, because I don't know especially a lot of the people on the back end, I don't think know just how much work goes in onto this end of this, or even on your end of this as well. You would think that it's easy to sit down with your friend and talk about the news, especially when you're both into news and culture, that it would be an easy thing to go back and do, especially, you can just carve out a couple hours and wing it off the cup. No, there are hours of research that go into this show every week.
Yeah.
You see the after effect, and I do have the advantage on the one side of, everything that we've talked about and we usually talk about comes off contemporary, and I've already read it once, but still, there are hours and hours of research and prep, and then transferring articles out in the document so where we want to go, and 4 hours on a Sunday preparing, doing everything, scheduling. This, and I hate to say it because I love doing this, is killing me.
Yeah. We need free time. It was a lot easier when I worked from home, where I could just transition. This was my desk that I worked at from home, and I would just transfer from working to, research or whatever else I was doing. And having a commute now, it's become a lot. And
off of the same aspect of it, it's I've been trying to get a real estate license for over a year.
As long as I think I've known you, you have been.
Yeah. I bought the coursework at Christmas 2020.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea how long I've been trying to do this. Actually, I think it was before that. I think it was 19, because when did we do the suicide prevention live stream? No, that wasn't 2021, so it was in 2020. Christmas of 2020 was when I bought the real estate licensing handbook, coursework, and etc. Mm-hmm. And I can't get to it because I can't listen to that and then try to, because I can't split my focus like that. I can't do the show prep. I can't end that at the same time. If I could do both of those at the same time, I'd be done with this long
Just
ago.
need to just clone yourself. That's
Yeah.
all. Yeah, and I know for the amount of work that I put into it, just researching what you send me, you are probably doing twice as much as me for a 2-hour show on a Monday. So
Yeah, there's probably a good, on my end, 10 hours that goes into putting on this 2-hour show. And I don't regret any of this. And we were talking about this a little bit before too, and I don't regret any of this. Like when I first started Ed's World, all the way back when I was still pre-recording and releasing it out there, I couldn't do something off the cuff like what I do with Contemporary now. And,
Yeah.
kind of learning the banter and learning how to skim through and separate out live chat, that's going to do. Now, I am going to continue with Contemporary. That's going to stay. That's not going anywhere. And in fact, I'm going to use some of the time that I've freed up to try to grow that a little bit more and clean up my language a little bit, because one of the things that I've noted is that I am competing against the people on the AM radio. And, that's one of the sides of that, too, is, people driving their kids to school still wanted to get the news and everything, especially if they got the younger kids. If they got the high school kids, a little bit different. But if they got the younger kids and they hear me calling a congresswoman a cunt.
Yeah, you can't
That's
really
really
do
not.
that. It cuts
That's
out
not
a
gonna,
big demographic.
yeah. And my thought of that too is, especially trying to grow this and work with the AM radio side of things, is the fact that, you can listen to me, maybe get a little bit of coarse language in here, but listen to me and go over the same kind of stories that they're going over on the AM radio, but you don't have to hear that commercial every 15 minutes of commercials every 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the direction that we're going to go, and that's how it's going to be. I don't regret having you come on here. I'm actually very glad that this happened.
Yeah, it's been super fun, huh?
Yeah, and I mean, you've got some exposure now. You can, because you still want to go back and do some work too with live streaming, having conversations, and going through court documents. So you've got some exposure and a little bit of built-in audience that comes out of this as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think this worked out very, very well for the both of us.
Win-win, as they say.
Yeah. And again, now I've got a rotation if I want to do an across the board, or even if I just want to do a one-on-one like I did with John a few weeks ago when we talked about culture stuff on Ed Talk. We did live chat and we talked about Star Wars because we both love Star Wars.
I was going to watch that, but Star Wars is kind of nerd stuff, so I just popped in and said hi, I think.
Yeah. Well, you say nerd stuff in a person who's wearing a Fallout t-shirt.
Yeah. I would have never even known that because I don't even know what that is. I'm assuming a video game.
All right. Well, we've got a lot to go over here, and I'm not going to lie. We're probably going to spend most of the 2 hours talking just about what happened in Uvalde there, which I don't know if you realize this or not, but I don't believe that any of this adds up. And I think you're going to be on the same side of that argument.
Yeah. Are you hearing the thunder outside right now? Is it
No,
coming
I'm
through
not.
the mic?
I'm
It's
not
like
hearing the thunder.
So loud it shook the windows just now. It kind of startled me.
So you're getting thunderstorms, and we've got wind blowing 100 miles an hour outside out here. That's one of the weird things with living here in Rock County, Wisconsin.
It's sunny out there. Yeah.
And you've got thunder.
Yeah. Kind of crazy. Welcome to Georgia.
Well, one of the weird things about where I live in southern Wisconsin is we have 3 weather patterns, and only 3. It's either ice cold and rainy, 100 degrees and 120% humidity, or actual somewhat decent temperature, but the wind is blowing 150 miles an hour.
Sounds lovely.
Like, it is beautiful temperature out there, and I mean, the sun is shining. It's great, but yeah, the wind hasn't stopped blowing for 2 days.
Wow.
So let's get into it, and we do have some stuff to go over here. We, of course, will be, it's in the news, it's in everything. We'll be talking about the Uvalde shooting. We'll be talking about what happened, what they're trying to make us believe happened, what's been coming out about this, and some of the push that's been going on to try to change our laws off of this, which really is part of what's driving my disbelief about what actually happened here. But we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. I've got some video of Adam Kinzinger making an ass out of himself. I've got some video We'll talk about AOC making an ass out of herself. It's going to be as much of a heavy topic as it's going to be. We're going to have a lot of fun poking some fun at some politicians, at least when we're coming out of here.
That's what I like about it.
The economy is on deck this week, and we'll be talking just a bit about that. Our home market is starting to slow down, which is good for somebody like me, because, like I said, I'm looking to get a real estate license. There's actually stuff on the market right now. Stuff just to sell. There's inventory.
Yeah.
Which, from what I've heard about from people working in the industry before, that hasn't been a thing for a while. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about going into a little bit with the gun stuff too, but the gas prices and how terrible those are. And we're going to have a little bit of fun with a Twitter account that I found that I don't know if you follow, but I'm pretty sure you're about to be following as soon as we're done here, about another industry that's going to be taking a hit if the economy takes a downturn, I'm sure.
I need to hear about all the good Twitter accounts that I've forgotten about since I got my new account. So
I think this one is actually new since you got your new account.
Oh, okay.
OnlyFans girls posting their L's.
Oh. Interesting.
We're gonna be having some fun.
I like that. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what's on there.
Well, we'll be having some fun with that. Plus, your primaries in Georgia were this past week, so
my favorite candidate won, Burnt Jones. He's running for lieutenant governor. He's my favorite guy, so I'm happy about that.
We'll be talking about some of that. Plus, the narrative of voter suppression that kind of fell apart this time through, because it turns out that you guys were posting some record numbers for primary turnout, and especially in one direction.
Yeah. I mean, when you ask for more people to vote, you got to take what you get. And this is Georgia. So what did she think was going to happen?
Well, we'll go over that and what that means for there. Plus, I've got the final surprise stupidity for you, and I found a heartwarming one. One that's kind of stupid, but it'll warm your heart a little bit, especially with the outcome off of it. I think you're going to like this one.
All right.
And it's going to be all this and more over on the final episode of KTZed Redemption. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, especially over the past 21 weeks. And also, everybody who's tuned in for the past 3 years. I want to take some time to thank you guys as well, chatting in the live chat, coming in and joining us over, starting off pre-recorded, only on YouTube, and then spanning out live onto YouTube, then live on Twitch, DLive, Periscope when that was still a thing, over on the Twitter channel if you can find it, over on my Facebook page, World 101. You can go find that there. Thanks everybody who came by, chatted with us, hung out with us, and everybody who's coming by, chatting with us, hanging out with us again. And if you can't catch us live, you can catch this show and everything else that I put out over on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble. You can find us over on there. You can find us on the audio platforms. I'm going to be reformatting because I pay for it. I'm still going to be using the audio platform. We'll have to find a little bit of different ways to do that technically because of how long it takes YouTube to process stuff, but you can catch us over on Apple Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Play. You can catch us on all those platforms. Go and hang out, take my programming up on the go, and I think that's it, actually.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get into it, and we've got some stuff to go over, some stuff that didn't fit into really any of the other news this week as well. And there's going to be some fun with this too, so are you ready to get into it?
Let's do it. I'm excited.
All right. The first thing that I wanted to do is something that I actually almost participated in, but then I realized I didn't want anybody from the Washington Post to contact me, but I still wanted to show the form here. So the Daily Wire reported, and we'll be talking about a tweet that came in here, the WAPO had to delete a tweet after falsely claiming that cops shot George Floyd. And a screenshot is worth 1,000 words. Way Off the Crane tweets out, it wasn't just the tweet that was wrong. How does something this wildly inaccurate get this far at the Post? And there it is on the front webpage, screenshotted, because they deleted it, is the headline, How Have Things Changed in Your Community Since George Floyd's Death? The subheading, on May 25th, 2020, George Floyd was shot and killed in police custody. His death sparked outrage, wide-scale protests, and calls to change policing. 2 years later, what has or hasn't changed?
I mean, that's about as accurate as the running narrative of how he died. So why not just say he was shot? Because he didn't die from a knee on his neck, and he definitely didn't die from being shot. Because, I mean, have you read the toxicology report? I have it. I can send it to anybody who wants to see it. He died of a fentanyl overdose, and he started to die before he was even taken into custody.
No, we have to believe what the Hennepin County judge and jury said, where
Nope.
Derek Chauvin concurrently, intentionally and unintentionally killed him at the same time.
I watched that whole trial. It was a farce, first of all. And secondly, he died because the cops pulled up on him and he ate all of his drugs so he wouldn't get caught with them. And then he died, because that's what happens.
Well, what was interesting about this, and I actually almost did go into there, but first, last name, and phone number was what they wanted here, was the new form, since they edited it, how things changed in your community since George Floyd's death. On May 25th, 2020, George Floyd died in police custody. His death sparked outrage, wide-scale protests, and calls to change policing. 2 years later, what has or hasn't changed? And I really wanted to... I actually might still submit this because I want to say, hey, my hometown lost several historic buildings, and somebody shot back, and that changed the narrative entirely. So
yeah,
I'm a former Kenosha resident.
Yeah, you should definitely do that. And if they call you to do an interview, just hit that record button and stream that shit. And then just mess with whoever calls you.
Well, I mean, really, my life has changed. And, going down to Kenosha, seeing this kind of thing, and the calls for gun control now because of Rittenhouse, having to deal with the idiots that think that he actually cold-bloodedly murdered people who were... There are people out there that think that those three were all three on the ground with their hands behind their head,
and
getting
black.
Shot execution style, and black.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So, I might still go and submit to that, so we'll see what happens and where that goes. And yes, of course, I will stream it if we do.
Thank you. It's the content we're here for, Ed.
Now, the content we're here for is your reaction to this. What would this show be without Libs of TikTok? Libs of TikTok tweets out, grown female adult has near breakdown over being misgendered and called lady. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah, let's do it.
I will say I am very glad that I'm feeling so good about my haircut and that it came out so good, because when I got off work to go to this hair appointment...
Apparently.
She did that on purpose. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was about ready to scream at the next person who called me girl. I work in a place that happens to have a lot of older people, a lot of seniors. And every time they refer to me or my coworkers or a group of us with me and my coworkers together, it's always ladies, lady, girl, girlies, ma'am, and just, it's non-stop. And I know they don't know that I'm non-binary, but it's still exhausting. Oh my god, come up with new terms, please.
She'd be flipping out if they said, hey guys, come over here. Like, she'd be flipping out at that too. So, and who has ever said, hey girlies, like that didn't happen. That people don't talk like that. I could see them saying, hey girls or ladies, come over this way or whatever, but girlies? That's made up bullshit. Also, the haircut, did she go in and ask for like, I want to look like a unicorn pooped on my head. Could you make that happen? What's happening there? Insane. This seriously is a mental health issue. We really, I think it has to do with all of the toxic chemicals they're putting in our food these days, because there's no way this many people are this mentally ill all of a sudden.
There's the rapid onset side of things too, but I mean, that is clearly a woman first and foremost.
Well, yeah. Obviously.
You can hear it in the voice, you can see it in the face shape, you can see it with a lot of other things. Yeah. That is clearly a woman. And did you detect a bit of a southern twang in there? Because I did. Just a light hint of one, but
I wasn't paying attention, and I'm around southern accents so much that I barely even hear them anymore unless they're really pronounced.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Just a bit of that. I'm guessing the backstory of this, and Libs of TikTok didn't give us any backstory, but I'm guessing the backstory here is She works in a nursing home, and nobody understands non-binary because they're Biden's age.
Or older. Or younger.
And Biden's mentality.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on with that. So, there you go. The last libs of TikTok.
Insane.
Let's talk about Nancy Pelosi, or more accurately, Paul Pelosi. CNN reports Pelosi's husband charged with DUI.
There's
House
something
Speaker
fishy going on here, too, by the way. When I heard this, there's something going on. Go ahead, read the story, and then I'll give you my take.
Speaker Pelosi's husband was arrested and charged with driving under the influence after being in a collision Saturday night. Law enforcement officials said Paul Pelosi, 82, was arrested at 11:44 p.m. Pacific time and charged with driving under the influence and driving with a blood alcohol content of 0.08% or higher, according to Napa County Criminal Justice Network's public booking report. Both charges are misdemeanors. Pelosi was attempting to cross SR 29 when his 2021 Porsche was hit by a 2014 Jeep traveling northbound on the road, according to a collision report from the California Highway Patrol, which doesn't identify either driver as being at fault in the crash. Troopers were called to the scene just before 10:30 p.m., the report said. There were no injuries reported in the crash, and the Jeep's driver was not arrested, the report said. Bail is set at $5,000, according to the booking report. Speaker Pelosi will not be commenting and had a press representative give the commentary for her, because she was in Rhode Island.
Was she, though, or was she driving?
According to this, the speaker was in Rhode Island on Sunday to speak at Brown University's commencement.
Hear me out. First of all, a records request should get us dash cam video and body cam video. And if that somehow mysteriously disappears, I have questions. I almost tipped over there. I'm not even drunk. I have questions about who was actually driving that car. You know what I mean? Because it's a little fishy that he was just driving his Porsche out by himself. At what time did you say? Like midnight or something?
Yeah, quarter to midnight.
Odd to me. And I really wouldn't be surprised if she was the one and this is a big cover-up.
Well, I mean, it takes a while to get from San Francisco to, what is Rhode Island? Yeah, Rhode Island for Brown.
It takes 4 hours.
To be there for a commencement.
Yeah.
Although I suppose she probably has a private jet though, so.
Still 4 hours, you know. Maybe 5 going to the airport. She probably doesn't have to go through security or anything like that.
Well, if it's a private plane, of course not.
Exactly.
So that is the story as of Vish. I believe that he was the one driving, but I do believe that there's some cover-up going on. I'd like to see what his BAC was when he got hit.
There's dash cam and body cam video of this stop, and it doesn't always come out right away, but somebody will do a records request, and if it disappears, if every single officer that was on scene, if their body cam just malfunctioned for some reason, I'm going to have questions.
What if they mysteriously get about a depression?
Yeah, that's true. Like, don't tell Hillary.
Well, that is what we see from that. The FBI did something over this past week. The FBI foiled an ISIS plot to kill W, DOJ says. When I heard about this morning, I may have said, why would they do a thing like that?
I don't know. Why would they? You would think, I would just think the way, I mean, the people who are in charge right now would have just let it happen and then be like, oh, well, we found out too late. Sorry, guys.
An Iraqi man in the U.S. with alleged links to ISIS has been taken into custody after he plotted to assassinate former President W, said the U.S. Attorney's Office in Southern District of Ohio on Tuesday. Shihab Ahmed Shihab, an Iraqi citizen living near Columbus, allegedly looked to smuggle 4 people from Iraq into the U.S. via the Mexican border to kill Bush. I have questions about the timing of this story.
I also have questions about the resource management of ISIS. If they're like, Bush is not doing anything anymore. Why would you assassinate him? Like, he's not doing anything anymore. I haven't even heard from him except once in the last several years at that speech where he messed up. I think he was trying to say Russia and he said Iraq or Ukraine, or he's trying to say Ukraine and said, yeah. That's the last time I heard from him. And before that, I can't even remember the last time I heard from him. Why are you spending your resources to assassinate that guy? There are way better targets out there, ISIS.
Well, according to the reports and the recordings that they got from WhatsApp, his reasoning behind doing this was as a revenge for destabilizing Iraq and killing many Iraqis while he was president. Yeah, your mom said the same thing, retaliation.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I mean,
so
he's about to die anyway, so I could give you a list of people, ISIS, if you want.
Well, for the fact that he is the most evil person in the world, I, for the sake of Susan, hope that George W. Bush lives a long and happy natural life and nothing bad ever comes to him.
Absolutely.
For the sake of Susan.
I mean, since he's out of office, I have a soft place in my heart for entertaining people, and Bush was entertaining. He was an entertaining president. I'd take entertaining over Joe Biden any day.
Well, here's an example of the left can't meme over here. Now, once we get done looking at this, I will actually point out, because I think that this was a bad Photoshop. But Carmel by the Sea tweets out, "I have been seeing these everywhere. Whomever did this, bravo." With a looks like a taped on sticker underneath the unleaded premium that shows as 6099 for gas and says oil and gas price gouging bill. Democrats 217 yes and 4 no. Republicans 0 yes, 203 no. Biden didn't do this. Republican wanted this, which tells me, number one, there's a signature on the corner. That's part of the reason that I have a problem with saying this is real. Yeah. But even if we accept that this is real, even there, I did that sticker as a wall of fucking text. Yeah. The left can't meme.
No, yeah. I had to get this close to the screen to even see what it said because it's too much. But I don't even think it's real. They really can't meme, can they?
Yeah, and I've looked at a couple things with this. I've blown this up. First off, there's a signature at the corner that sells Bill Jubrin Comedy, and then there's a BJ marked in watermark inside of the area, the sticker that's supposed to be there. Now, it looks like whoever put this together made it look like it was a torn off piece of paper with a piece of tape over it. You can see there's some lightning underneath in the red on there. But I looked at this more, and number one, there's no sign that there's any sort of fold or anything in the paper. And the bottom of the text is perfectly pixel perfect parallel with the bottom of this, along with the rest of the text that's on there. The lines in the corners here are absolutely perfect 90 degrees, and it looks like even there was an attempt to make it look imperfect up at the top, but this looks like real. This was faked.
Yeah. I think I could have done a better job in Meme Maker, honestly.
But yes, even if you take this at face value, even there, I did that sticker as a wall of text.
Insane.
More fun from Twitter. This one didn't make contemporary because we ran out of time, but Genie7777 tweets out, replying to Boonbro Australia, saying, the CEO of Moderna at WEF says, it's sad to say I'm in the process of throwing 30 million doses into the garbage. Let's listen.
It's sad to say. I'm in the process of throwing 30 million doses into the garbage because nobody wants them. We have a big demand problem. We right now have governments. We try to contact, not only Seth, who is doing great work with his team trying to get demand into the countries, but also we contacted through the the embassies in Washington, every country, and nobody wants to take them. It's sad to say.
I have to throw out my vaccines because nobody wants the damn thing.
Just relabel them monkeypox. People will be all over that shit. It's a marketing problem. The person who made that meme from the last story will definitely want a monkeypox vaccine.
Some Sussman stuff. FBI agent testifies about possible misconduct during investigation into Trump-Russia ties. From CBS Austin, the trial of Sussman is now wrapping up with a testimony from FBI agent Curtis Hyde. Hyde was a part of a team looking into an alleged secret server from Alpha Bank that is believed to be possibly a back-channel communication between Trump and Russia, according to a confidential human source who took those claims to the FBI back in 2016. It was Sussman. The source was later revealed to be Sussman, who was working with the Clinton campaign at the time. And yes, he is on trial for lying to the FBI and saying that he wasn't working with any client on behalf of this.
He's got the perfect name, though, doesn't he? I mean, you can't make this shit up.
Have you seen any of this trial?
I have not. I didn't even know it was being shown. I thought it was federal, so I don't think. Can you watch it?
Oh, that's true. I guess because it's in a district court, you can't. But yeah. I know I've been trying to pay attention to some of the stuff that's been coming out. But isn't it mysterious that right after they found out that Hillary was the one who authorized the leak of the now debunked Russia claim, that we had a major shooting in Texas?
Of course we did.
And nobody on the news can talk about anything else.
Don't even get me started on that.
Oh, we'll have plenty of time in just a few minutes for that.
And all of that shit. Jeez, it stinks so bad.
Well, we'll be talking a bit about that, but yeah, it came out, and Robbie Mook pretty much admitted to the fact that Hillary was the one that was into this, and, you know, boom, boom, 21 people. So
yeah.
Remember Kellyanne Conway?
Yes.
Kellyanne Conway comes out and says, "My husband George abandoned me for Twitter." From Selena Zito over at the New York Post.
I did that to Mr. Zed.
On June 5th, 2017, Kellyanne Conway was in the East Room of the White House when Sean Spicer bounded towards her. "Did you know about this?" Spicer asked. He held his phone out. Twitter was open. On the screen was a tweet written by her husband, George. "That's not possible," Conway said. She recalls her memoir, Here's the Deal. Out today, George doesn't send the tweet. Which, whoa, surprise, there's a book deal coming out.
Yeah, of course.
Within seconds, Conway realized that not only did George indeed tweet, he had taken a swipe at her boss for tweets that would complicate matters for the Office of Solicitor General, which was trying to defend his travel ban on certain Muslim countries. "These tweets may make some people feel better, but they certainly won't help OSG get 5 votes in SCOTUS, which is what actually matters. Sad," George wrote. So, mysteriously on the day that Kellyanne Conway's new book comes out, she says, "My husband left me for Twitter."
It's all marketing. Everything is an op. I say this a lot, but it's true. Everything that you see or hear, especially from mainstream media, it's an op. Somebody's trying to convince you of something all the time, whether it's to buy a certain brand of sliced bread or to buy this book. It's all trying to convince you of something.
Well, and I mean, given George's proximity to the Lincoln Project, I would be surprised if he left her for Twitter, instead just left her for a 9-year-old boy.
Ouch. Yeah. Could happen.
Am I wrong?
No,
never mind. Those guys actually like the ones that are old enough. 13, 14.
Is that old enough? Not so much.
Here's one from your neighbors, your state neighbors over here, that I found interesting. Straight kids in Alabama are enrolling in an LGBTQIRAAMIGIXTI7 +sign charter school to escape failing inner city schools.
What happened to just good old-fashioned, like, Christian private schools? Just send them there. It'll be fine.
They're probably full. Or they probably have high enrollment requirements that they can't meet.
Everybody needs to just homeschool their kids. Like, honestly, it's getting a little ridiculous. Either private school or homeschool. Like, private school, not this private school. I'm talking about, like, a Christian or Catholic private school.
Yeah. But that seems to be what's going behind this. A new I'm not going to do the big acronym again. LGB charter school in Alabama is attracting straight black kids whose families see it as a way for their kids to escape Birmingham's beleaguered regular public school, the Daily Wire has learned. The Magic City Acceptance Academy, a grade 6 through 12 public school designed to cater to LGBTQ students, boasts providing a brave learning environment and LGBTQ affirming culture for all, but with Alabama's traditional public schools ranking among the worst in the country, straight students are flocking to the school in Birmingham, suburb of Homewood. Some kids are not gay, but they go there to get out of the inner city schools, a source inside the school who spoke on the condition of anonymity told the Daily Wire. The source said that most of the school's approximately 240 students are queer, upper middle class white kids, but then you see some kids who present more like inner city school traditional kids, probably there to get out of Birmingham schools.
I mean, if your choice is to send your kids to a school where they're physically in danger or mentally in danger, which are you going to choose? Because you can try to unbrainwash them when they get home. But if they get shot, you can't undo that, you know? So I can see why this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But this is why we need, we need school choice, and we wouldn't have this issue anymore.
Actually, and I talked about this on the morning show this morning. Actually, I used to date a girl who was a second grade teacher at a choice school in Milwaukee. And they were pulling them from east of Howell, downtown Milwaukee, also from up on the far north side, busing them in out to this Lutheran school in the suburbs. And, walking around, even talking to the second graders, I would bet money that more than half of them were not Lutheran.
I mean, I had kids that went to my school when I was growing up that weren't Catholic. Mm-hmm. And I went to a Catholic school from all the way till, senior year of high school.
Yeah, it is. And a big part of it is just getting them into these schools that'll actually teach them something instead of, just like in Milwaukee, the failing inner city schools where they're run by the teachers union who can't get fired and just don't give a damn about them.
It was
They're there to collect the paycheck.
To their families to have them sit through mass once a week. Wednesday mornings we had mass. Mm-hmm. And it was worth it to their families to have them sit through that once a week and to get the education that's afforded to them by a private school.
Well, yeah, and I mean, even in the black community that most of these kids were coming from in Milwaukee, if there was religion, it was usually Pentecostal, not Lutheran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what we see coming out of that. And yeah, I mean, how bad do your Birmingham schools have to be if you put them into a place like this?
I mean, I'd rather have my kids get shot, but most people wouldn't choose that. Although my kids would know how to shoot back, so.
In this article, which is weird because it seems, according to this, there are only 9 charter schools in all of Alabama.
I mean, have you been to Alabama? That sounds about right.
I actually haven't. I thought I was. Because when I was coming back out of Chattanooga, I started seeing signs that suggested I might be in Alabama, but it turns out, and I looked at the map, that there was no way that I made it to Alabama.
Close. You were very close. You were probably a couple of miles away from Alabama. Like when you go through Chattanooga and then you dip back down into Georgia, you were very close to Alabama.
Ah. All right. Let's see, what else do we have here? Hey, here's a case of don't go against the mainstream narrative or else. Madison Cawthorn. House Ethics Committee launches investigation into Madison Cawthorn. The House Committee on Ethics is launching an investigation into Representative Madison Cawthorn of North Carolina to determine if he was involved in financial improprieties or had an improper relationship with an individual on his staff committee, announced on Monday. Do you know who the person in his staff was that he might have had improper relations with?
I don't, but this guy is very creepy, and I don't like him. I believe all of these things about him.
Well, the financial impropriety is for him getting behind the Let's Go Brandon coin, the pump and dump coin.
Oh.
And the staffer that's worked for him that he had an inappropriate relationship with was his cousin that touched his junk in the video.
See, creepy. He was teabagging that guy. It was disgusting. I don't like anything about this man.
Don't ever step foot in a mechanic school. I'm going to warn you of that right now.
I don't think it's in my future.
It probably shouldn't be if what you saw in that video is creepy to you, because I've seen a
Yes.
lot worse.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry.
Testosterone adult guys.
Get counseling if you need it.
But it part of this does go with me, and I think that some of this is revenge for him trying to come back out and shake up the establishment. I really do. And now that they know that they don't have to count on his vote next time through, hey, we're going to nail you to the wall and make sure that you're blackballed and you can't go carpetbag and go run somewhere else.
I mean, I'm fine with that. This guy doesn't need to be in office. Like there's a better choice. There's an America First candidate somewhere behind him coming up that needs that seat.
Well, we'll see what happens. A little bit of a review of the Elon story. SpaceX president defends Elon Musk over sexual misconduct claims. I believe the allegations to be false. President and COO Gwynne Shotwell defended Elon Musk in an email to employees last week responding to sexual misconduct allegations directed at the CEO, CNBC has learned. Personally, I believe the allegations to be false, not because I work for Elon, but because I've worked closely with him for 20 years, and I've never seen nor heard anything resembling these allegations, Shotwell wrote in a company-wide email sent on Friday and seen by CNBC.
Yeah, I mean, his response was perfect. Like, okay, if this happened, tell me what it looks like. And then all of a sudden the story went away. Like, seriously. It just didn't happen. And the timing of it made me believe it didn't happen. And then when that happened, when it went away, as soon as he's like, okay, well, you know, what do I look like down there? If this happened, you'll know exactly. I don't want to venture to guess what's going on down there with him, but it's obviously something that the person would know. So
apparently there's a birthmark or something there that's generally very noticeable.
Like an L shape, maybe? I don't know.
One of the things with this too, and again, I will give both sides of this the benefit of the doubt. There is a court case, which, like I said last week, I'm sure that Business Insider went through as soon as they found out about Twitter and said, okay, let's go find anything that has to do with Elon Musk in the court system and let's go interview that person.
Yeah. Also, I haven't heard what she was wearing, and that's very important information to know.
One of the things, and I'll give both sides the benefit of the doubt, as I was just saying with that, of the only two people in the world, in the universe, that will ever know, because I'm sure with Elon in a private plane, there's no surveillance in there. The only two people in the universe that will ever know what happened in that room for sure, the rest of us can only speculate, is Elon Musk, an unnamed employee. Nobody else in the universe will ever know for sure. And God.
You have, I mean, I don't give this woman the benefit of any doubt at all. This never happened. Guaranteed, I'd put money on it.
All right. Well, God, Elon, and unnamed reporter, the only people who will ever know for positive. On speculation, I am on your side with that, though. I will say that. Some foreign news. We got just a couple more here before we head into the main news topics. Biden says U.S. would respond militarily if China attacked Taiwan, but the White House walked it back as fast as they fucking could.
Yeah, because it happened this morning, didn't it?
No, this was last week.
No, but I'm saying, didn't China fly into airspace this morning?
Oh, I didn't see that, so I'll have to look into that for tomorrow morning.
I didn't see it either. I heard about it on TDI, so which I don't usually get my news from. And then I started gardening right after that and didn't look into it. But from what I understand, there was breaking news this morning that China has violated Taiwan's airspace this morning.
So, well, that's going to be something to look at in the morning here. President Biden said Monday the U.S. would intervene militarily if China attempts to take Taiwan by force, but a warning that appeared to deviate from the deliberate ambiguity traditionally held by the White House. And then, yes, the White House says, no, Grandpa doesn't know what he's talking about. No, we'll do this the way we did Ukraine and do support and everything else. So,
yeah.
Well, that's going to change the narrative if that's true. So, yeah, I don't know about that.
I'm just doing a little Google search to see.
Is that like the Irma Gerd variant?
Yes. Yeah. 30 Chinese aircraft enter Taiwanese airspace.
Ooh.
This was, I heard about it this, well, at like noon, 12:30, 1 o'clock, but these reports are coming in an hour ago, 15 minutes ago. Yeah, it's happening right now.
It's like the Ron Paul face. It's happening.
It's happening. Yeah.
All right.
I
and
can't believe there's a news story that I know that you don't. You know everything about everything all the time.
Oh, well, thank you. That's high praise. All right, and the last one coming from our friends over on the West Coast. Californians could face mandatory water restrictions as drought drags on, the governor says. Does this sound like somebody that's got it under control?
What else is new? This is a cycle. There's no water, then the state catches on fire, and then there's no water, and then the state catches on fire. This is the cycle that they've been going through in California for as long as I can remember.
Which part of the cycle has rolling blackouts?
That is the state catching on fire part of it, because that's when the transistors blow up and set the state on fire.
Yeah, I don't understand why people still live there. I really don't.
The smart people have moved here. I was texting with one of them a minute ago.
And one of the aspects of that, one of the sides of that is the fact that, like, I understand. Okay, it is 75 and sunny 355 days out of the year.
It's not, though. I've been to LA in the wintertime. It's not that great. It was warmer here. It was warmer here over the holidays this last year than it was there. I was in both places.
But that's kind of the story that it gave me is it's 70 and warm most of the year round, and it's nice, and the homeless people can go and stay out there, and if you do happen to be homeless, you can tent camp and everything else. But it's like, okay, like you said, your state is on fire 2 months out of the year.
You know where else has nice weather? Florida. They also are free there, which is wonderful, and they have good weather. You just got to watch out for the gators.
And the hurricanes.
Yeah, the hurricanes. They build for that. Like, you're fine.
All right. Well, that's the lightning round for us here. Let's look in and see what some of our friends are doing here. Your mom is here and says down, and then says my house value increased by $13,000 in the last month. Unfortunately, tax assessments were in that same month. House prices will drop, but taxes won't ever seem to go down.
True. I got my tax assessment too. It was ridiculous.
Number 2 says Katie sporting the tracksuit and also didn't know that about broccoli. Yeah, I just found that out like this year. So
it makes me want to go plant broccoli. Or I don't know if it's too late this season, but definitely next year. I love broccoli.
It's not too late. Your mom says sorry to see you go. You're the only YouTube show that I watch. Well, you're still welcome to be here in the morning.
Yeah.
We're here. I'm here.
Ed's on telling you the news every morning at like 8:30, 8:45-ish. Our time. Yeah.
Mr. Zed says such bad influence with the naughty language. I'm going to try. Because now I know how I want to grow the show. I'm going to try. I'm going to make an attempt.
It's I've been making an attempt for the last 21 weeks or whatever it's been. And it's difficult. It's so difficult because in my real everyday life, when I'm just talking to a friend, everything flies. Like there's no words off limits, like not a single word off limits. So when I'm comfortable just talking to a friend, it's difficult. It really is.
Well, it's weird too, because like I used to be a Daily Wire junkie. I used to listen to all of their podcasts every day, and to hear Ben Shapiro, like he goes out of his way. When he was talking about Beyonce's song "Ape Shit," he's like, "Okay, gang, we're gonna be talking about a song here. It's called I can't say the name on here. It's Ape Bleep. Okay, so they're talking about this, and they're in the museum, and they're talking about 2-year-olds in the museum, and it's Ape Bleep." And then I hear him on Rogan, and he's like, it's on Rogan. He's fuck this, fuck that. It's F word as a punctuation mark, which blew my mind.
He censors himself because he wanted his show to take off, and it did, so it worked.
Mm-hmm. So. Let's see. Blind Fear is here. We are Easter eggs, apparently. We was talking. He said that while we were looking at the Libs of TikTok one. Mm-hmm. Number 2, talking about Paul Pelosi, says, "Can you blame him? Look at who his wife is, and she is twice as drunk as him all the time."
Isn't that the truth? She's drunk a lot.
Your mom said retaliation.
Oh,
I
about
forget what it was.
the
Oh,
George
yeah, the Bush thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2 says zigavage. And Blind Pierce says, we don't want bad vaccines.
We don't want them, but I know people who will take any vaccine offered to them.
Mr. Zed says, I only see KTZed when she posts those dank memes.
True story. I lock him in the basement most of the time.
Number 2 says, Mr. Zed, well, I just grilled bratwurst and my arm smells like a bratwurst, and if that's the worst thing that happens to me today, then I'm doing all right.
Wait, we're having who? Oh, number 2 grilled. I thought maybe I was getting dinner made for me right now and didn't even know it.
Number 2 says, I'm not following your Twitter. You keep on getting taken down by the feds.
It's very sad.
Mr. Zed apparently is getting into the smoking meats thing and looking forward to the next election. Actually, I'm going to be doing some smoking. Well, now that I have Monday nights off, I'm going to be doing some smoking too. So,
yeah, we tried out a recipe that we're going to do on 4th of July this past weekend for our neighbor's Memorial Day party, and it turned out really well. I'm very much looking forward to it. We're having all barbecue for 4th of July this year instead of burgers and hot dogs like we normally do, and it's going to be freaking delicious. And all the guys can sit out on the back deck all day, smoke the meats, and drink beers. It'll be lots of fun.
let's see. Number 2 says, my daughter goes to Christian school, and I was afraid to tell people she's Catholic because there were things that certain teachers said that imply Catholicism is wrong. Couple of years.
Yeah, I could see that.
Mr. Zed says, China's been going into Taiwan's airspace off and on for years. Mr. Zed also says rolling blackouts happen right after the fires.
Yep.
Number 2 loves alligators.
I actually have been to the Okefenokee Swamp with number 2. Alligators don't excite me that much.
Apparently old people are not up at 8:30 a.m.
That's baloney.
And number 2 liked my Shapiro impression.
It was very good, actually. Yeah, it was almost as good as your Jordan Peterson.
Well, you see, Jordan Peterson has to sit down and talk with Ben Shapiro because Ben Shapiro has apparently never been down to the belly of the whale to save his father.
Yes.
All right, we have delayed, we have stalled, and not talked about it long enough. We have got to talk about what is on everybody's mind, what has been through everybody's mind, and what is probably going to take up the remaining portion of the next 60 minutes.
Oh, good.
In Uvalde, Texas, this past week. And I'm not going to be like the Daily Wire. I'm not going to be like the Timcast and say I'm not going to say his name because we don't want these people to get publicized. No, I think that this is
dead. Whatever.
He is dead. That's true. Salvador Ramos entered into Robb Elementary School at 11:35 a.m. Central Time on Tuesday morning and opened fire. He got into a classroom, a joint classroom, and killed instantly 14 students. 5 more died later on, bleeding out from injuries that they could have possibly had their lives saved from. One teacher also was killed instantly, and another teacher at the same point succumbed to injuries after on.
Yeah.
Border Patrol, after an hour in, breached the classroom and killed Ramos.
Off duty, by the way.
Off duty. And a slew of news has come out about this since Tuesday. Now, I will say at the first outset, I did not buy this at face value at the beginning, just because of everything else that was happening.
At the beginning I did, and then I learned more.
Some additional information about what had happened here, what is given to us from the mainstream, is that Ramos had purchased on May 10th, on his 18th birthday, 2 Daniel Defense rifles, valued approximately $1,895 each, a high-powered holographic sight, and $600 worth of ammunition.
If Santa's listening, that's my order.
I don't know if I want to give money to Daniel Defense anymore because they kind of cucked after all this. They kind of turned into little bitches after this. Although
it's PR.
I've heard this is the Cadillac of rifles.
Yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it? $1,800 a piece, huh? Plus optics. Mm-hmm.
So before we get into anything main off of this, I want to hear what your initial reactions were of this and how you came off of the I buy this into where you're sitting at.
I bought it because it wasn't a white school. That's the first, and my initial reaction was like, oh, I think this one actually happened because why would they set it up to be at a mostly Hispanic school? That was just my initial. Also, the shooter wasn't white, so it didn't make sense that it was made up. But then you start hearing about the Discord servers and the former federal agents who was in a Discord server with this guy and the Buffalo shooter at the same time. Also, that thing that they called this one happening after the Buffalo shooting or something. Have you heard about all this?
Some of this is speculation, but some of this is confirmed at this point, especially the connection between the federal agent and the Buffalo shooter.
Yeah.
It's still up in the air whether or not, because I've heard from sources and I've heard some sources denying it, that the Texas shooter was in the Discord server.
Not gonna lie, I think I trust 4chan more than I do the mainstream media at this point. So I think this is what happened. I think that they found mentally ill young men to commit these crimes, and they knew it was going to happen. And it just happened to be one of them was Hispanic and lived in a Hispanic area.
Mm-hmm.
To push gun control. And it's very convenient that it happened 2 days or 1 day before the NRA convention in the same state.
That was weird
convenient.
Too.
Yeah.
And the Donald was supposed to be speaking there. And I mean, we knew about the Donald speaking there because of all the preparation that the Secret Service has to put in just to get the president in a situation, especially in a situation where there are going to be a butt ton of people with guns.
I think he spoke at the NRA convention that I went to in Atlanta here. I can't remember. I know I didn't hear him speak, but I think he did speak at that one. We just had the convention hall tickets, not the tickets that get you into the speeches.
What was the speech for that? It was like, okay, we're in the great state of Georgia. Okay, go Bulldogs.
I want to say it was before he was president.
Oh.
I think he was just running. Yeah.
Go Bulldogs. Okay, and Brian Kemp. Okay, he's the worst, and he didn't want to go find all those votes for me. So go in there.
Pretty much. That's the speech he gave in Conyers or wherever it was when we went to that rally. That's the exact speech. He stood next to Herschel Walker, and who's a very famous Georgia. People in Georgia, no matter who you are, know who Herschel Walker is, and disparaged Brian Kemp and propped up Nathan Perdue.
All right. So I want to go over some of the details about what happened in this shooting. And by the way, to number 2, this is Wicked Blue Citrus Mio Energy and a cup full of water. And there's 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in here as well. But let's talk just a bit about some of the things that are known about this. Now, suspect info looks like the timeline that was coming for this. It is unclear to me, because I've heard conflicting reports about this. That's the name of this entire story is conflicting reports. But he was either they had a bolo out for the vehicle that he was driving himself, or they were chasing him at the time. I tend to believe, after seeing the wreck, that they were chasing him at the time. But I cannot find any confirmation about that. It appears that he told a girl in Germany that he was about to go and do this via Instagram. Yep. However, his Instagram only had 2 photos on it, a picture of him and a picture of the rifles.
Also, I think they proved that she did not see that message until after the shooting had happened. So it's not like she saw it and then ignored it or something.
Mm-hmm. He shot his grandmother in the face. It does look like she survived.
Yeah.
So...
yeah.
It does appear that she has survived. He then took her pickup truck, a 2005 Ford F-150,
Yeah, I heard they were arguing about a cell phone bill. That's why this all started. It was over a cell phone bill.
Which is possible. And, and we'll be talking just a bit about that in a moment, too, because that's one of the inconsistencies that comes into this. Approximately 11:20 a.m., he crashed said pickup into a ditch with enough force to tear an axle shaft off, by the way.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds serious.
It's when you're under the back of the vehicle on a solid axle, there's a rotating shaft that's inside of the axle. The axle itself that you see with your eyes is stationary, but there's a rotating axle inside that's this thick.
Oh.
I know. Okay. I've taken the rear end of an F-150 apart. The axle shaft that he broke is this thick of cast steel.
So there was a crash.
There was a crash, and we'll be looking at the pictures for there. The reports are saying that he was possibly plotting to go and do this to the seniors at his high school that he had dropped out of, but because the seniors getting out early, the old tradition where they were going out to get work before everybody else, means that he missed his opportunity, and then there are reports that are saying that he specifically went to the elementary school, and other reports that are saying that he was chased in there because that was where he crashed his truck. This is where the inconsistencies start coming into here.
So was he being chased or was he not being chased?
I have no idea. Let me pull up here. So
I heard he was being chased, but also I didn't see any evidence of that, such as, dash cam footage or anything like that.
So this is the crash scene that we have here. Yeah. And you can see the rear wheel is folded over. It is snapped off over there.
To make it bigger.
Okay.
Oh yeah, geez, look at that.
That kid was cruising when he hit that ditch. He was 60 plus when he hit that ditch.
Yeah, that's not good.
Because again, I know how thick the axle shaft that he broke off is, and he didn't hit that at a low speed.
Doesn't look like it.
So yeah, he was cruising at that point. Which, I mean, why would you be cruising, especially if you're not trying to draw attention to yourself, unless you're being chased?
Exactly. Well, or he could have he shot his grandmother in the face and was like, F it. And thought, oh, maybe I could get air or something cool. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe he knew he was going to die that day and just said, F it,
Allie Bradley TV had tweeted out with this image, breaking: multiple children were shot and killed in an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. Multiple law enforcement sources tell me the shooter was a murder suspect. There was a bulldog for his truck. A pursuit ended near Robb Elementary. He ran into the school, started firing, limited info. So, and this was at 3:09 p.m. Central Time on the same day that it happened, so only a few hours afterwards. Like I said, there's suggestion enough there that there was a pursuit, but I've not seen any mainstream confirmation. I've not seen that on the timeline anywhere.
No, there's a lot of fishy stuff going on with this, and the fact that we haven't seen dash cam video or any cell phone video at all from this makes me really suspicious. Why did I pronounce it like that? I'm not sure.
It's sus AF, apparently.
I was going to say sus, and then I realized that I'm old, and I shouldn't be suspicious. I forgot that I'm old. It's very sussy, though, isn't it?
It is. Here is, and I've got two of the timeline for this, both from two different tweets that have come out from this. Both from different tweets of people who have had things to say about this. Greg Price, this was over the weekend here, tweets out, to recap, teacher propped open locked door, shooter walked in, SRO wasn't on campus, 20 officers were in the hallway at the school. Chief of police held officers and border patrol back because he thought that there was no longer an active shooter while kids were calling 911. Todd Hagopian says, here's the hashtag Uvalde timeline. 11:31, 911 call about a man with a gun. 11:33, shooter enters school. 11:35, cops arrive and locate classroom. And this, by the way, is the counter to whether or not he was being chased when he crashed out the truck.
Yeah, why did it take the cops so long if they were right behind him? That's a good point.
1203, 911 calls from inside the classroom. 1210 to 1246, 7 more 911 calls from classroom. And 1250, police breach and kill suspect.
God, it took them like an hour. Well, more than an hour. The only part that doesn't seem suspicious to me about this is that the door was propped open, and I know a lot of people are making a lot to do about that, but when I was in school, they used to prop doors and windows open all the time, especially this time of year when it was hot, because, you know, you get the fresh air in there or whatever. Then again, like I said a minute ago, I'm pretty old, and school safety was not, like, there wasn't these school shootings. I mean, there was, it just wasn't as prevalent, you know.
Well, I know you get on my case about bringing up your age from time to time, but this was also brought up about me at this point. But you and I both, well, I went to high school post-Columbine, but just barely by like an inch, which means that you went to high school before Columbine, which, you know, what was different.
Yeah.
It was a different world back then.
Exactly.
And plus, being at a Catholic school on top of it. Banning has pointed out on numerous occasions that, you know, even you went to a private school as well, like the Jewish private schools in New York have Mossad agents at the door. Like, you're not getting in.
We didn't have anything like that, but we also, because I went to school up north, there was no air conditioning. So when it was hot out, they opened all the doors and windows. It's just what happened, you know? And I would assume these days, and in Texas, they'd have air conditioning. So maybe I am suspicious about the door. I don't know. Why would the door be propped open? I don't know.
Well, that's been one of the arguments that's been brought up about this from time to time too, is the fact that it does seem like everything in here coalesced, whether organically or plannedly, to make this into the maximum carnage possible.
Well, what was interesting about the door thing is that one of the teachers that dialed 911 knew that the door was open and didn't close the door. Like, that was in one of the reports, that one of the teachers that called in about the shooter or about seeing the guy outside with a gun knew that door was open or had to pass right by that door before she called 911 and didn't shut the door. If you see a guy outside with a gun and you know you just passed a door that's open, why would you not shut and lock that door? I'm really going back and forth on this door thing. I've completely changed my mind in the last 2.5 minutes.
So let's have a conversation about the weapons, because I think the time has come for this one here. Ultra Mega Mucho Gusto, and this was one of the first reports that I saw about the weapon that were... before I even get into that, I do want to say that there are very conflicting reports about the weapon that was used. In the midst of this, the official reports say that he got out of his truck and grabbed his rifle and then ran to the school, shot at people at a funeral home outside. But there have been also reports that he used a handgun for this.
Really? I hadn't heard that.
That was one of the first things I heard about this, was that this was perpetrated, like the actual killing was perpetrated with a handgun, but he did have rifles with him.
Would make sense, though, wouldn't it, that they wouldn't be reporting the handgun? Because they want to keep the handguns in the poor communities so they can take each other out.
How many parentheses go around the they when you say that?
I don't. I mean, whoever's in charge, whoever has power at the moment. Whoever has power at the moment. But you know, it's part of the plan.
Ultra Mega Mucho Gusto tweets out 9:40 p.m., so this was late night that night. On the Texas school shooter's Instagram, it supposedly shows that he had purchased a Daniel Defense AR-15, a Springfield Saint, and an EO Tech holographic sight, which are not inexpensive armaments for any stretch of the imagination. These are somewhat high-end guns, not out of reach, but took some effort to accumulate the money, about $5,000 strange. This is also a student who was allegedly, one of the reasons that they say that he did this is because he was constantly teased for being poor while he was in high school. His last employment was listed as an on-again, off-again gig at the local Wendy's flipping burgers.
There's no way. I mean, I started working when I was 15, and there's no way I would have had the 90s equivalent to $5,000. Like there's just no way.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that entirely. And even there was some shade brought in. Because when I saw the truck, that was one of the first things that when I found out about the rifles and I saw the truck, before I knew that that was Grandma's truck, which raises even more questions, by the way. They're talking about that he had this high-end truck. No, that was an 04. That is, 18 years old at this point? That's an 18-year-old vehicle.
Yeah.
That probably goes, if it's two-wheel drive, for about $2,000.
Yeah.
That wasn't an expensive truck.
Did he even have a vehicle?
According to reports, he did not have a vehicle of his own.
Yeah. What 18-year-old do you know that buys? Like, if he was just buying a gun to do a mass shooting, why would he buy 3? Why would he save up and buy 3 instead of buying 1 and a bunch of ammo and magazines and a car?
Why wouldn't you just buy a car if you had that kind of cash laying around? And, there are a lot of people out here that are bringing up, too, and we'll talk about this inane Quartz article in just a bit, but, he probably got financing for it. Okay.
For the guns?
Yeah, and Daniel Defense does say, specify on their website that there is financing available for those guns, but...
I can finance a gun?
Apparently.
All right, Santa. I'm kidding. We don't need to finance a gun. If we can't afford it, we can't afford it.
I was going to say, I've paid cash for all the ones I have.
Yeah, us too. Like, that's not something you want to... Unless you don't have one and you live in an area where you need one, there's no need to finance a gun.
I've been at that point in my life where I needed to finance a gun, but regardless, I still didn't.
Yeah.
Because I did live in an area where I needed one, and I didn't have one.
You get pepper spray till you can save up enough.
So, but yeah, I mean, they're saying about $5,000 on this tweet. I did some looking into this, especially with the Springfield Saint and the Daniel Defense one and the holographic sight plus ammo. It was probably closer to $6,000 by the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, the optics and everything, yeah.
And in high school being teased for being poor.
And then I saw some interviews with his classmates who said that he was not teased and he was the bully. So what's true and what's not? I have no idea. Like the interview that I saw with one of his school classmates said that he was the bully. He would take joy in making other kids cry, and he tortured animals. So that kind of makes more sense to me.
Let's talk about the police response, because that has been the biggest point of contention for people throughout this entire thing. Okay. So, as we saw from Hagopian's timeline, from what we understand about all of this, the shooter stood out in the open, in the wide open, and shot at people, and didn't hit anybody, thankfully, outside of a funeral home, while police were staring him down.
Yeah.
And then entered the school. From the time that he entered the school, he managed to find the one door that was propped open in the school. The only door that was propped open. Everything else was closed and locked. Went in there and killed instantly 14 students, and then 5 more, as we said, succumbed to injuries. Meanwhile, it took an hour for a police response to get in through the door. Local police, sheriff's department, and municipality police milled around in the halls for the entire time until Border Patrol unit came through. Now, from what I understand, the shooter, the BORTAC agent who breached it, was actually the boyfriend or husband, it's not confirmed which one, of one of the teachers who was in the school. Not one of the teachers that passed away, but one of the teachers who was in the school, who had called him when all the carnage started. And from where their base was, it took them an hour to get there.
But he was being chased.
So tell me a little bit about that, and the fact that, what you've seen about the fact that they took an hour to get into this door.
I have never seen police who want to get into a place take an hour to get into a place. Like, that just doesn't happen. It takes them 30 seconds to get into anywhere. Also, like, have you looked at the Google Maps of this place? I could see how the shooter would see which door is open, just the way the layout is. It seems like it's long buildings with a hall connecting them, and at the ends of the buildings that are facing the street, or where you would see, is where the doors were. So I could see being able to tell which door is propped open, so that is not unusual that he knew which door to go to. You know what I mean? It's not like a maze or anything.
So I'm going to push back on that a little bit, because from the way that I understand this, it was that he had gone in through the main entrance, which was unlocked for students and parents to be able to come in. But the door that was propped open was one of the classroom doors, because by policy, post-Columbine and post-other school shootings, doors are supposed to be locked during school hours.
So he didn't go through the unlocked door, or the propped open door?
Well, the propped open door was inside of the building.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought the teacher had propped open an outside door.
From what I understand, no, it's that one of the inside doors was propped open and he had gone into the school through the main entrance. I might be wrong on that.
Why would it be an issue that an inside door is propped open? Aren't inside doors propped open all the time?
To prevent something like this. To protect the kids.
I don't know.
That's the way I understand it. And like I said, I might actually be incorrect about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but it doesn't seem unusual for me to have teachers' doors, like the classroom doors open or whatever, inside hallway doors propped open, or, I don't know. But
one of the aspects that went along with that is, and I know John had posted out the meme, and I didn't put it onto the stack for this, but police, when they smell weed and they see, like where you'd have the slide lock in there with a Cheeto inside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then police, when there's a shooter inside with students and it's like a vault door.
It's insane. Yeah. I haven't, Columbine happened when I was in college, so I haven't been in a grade school or a high school since. I mean, I have been to visit, godchildren, whoever, but not, you know what I mean? Like, I haven't been in school since then, so I'm not sure how things have changed.
Well, and oddly enough, like, for me, too, I didn't see it change because I was in such a rural place. And, well, like I had said in one of my first ever solo videos, there was a gun in every country boy's truck, cased and unloaded.
That's how my husband went to school, too, when he lived in Oregon. He said that the kids would ride horses to school with guns on their back in case they ran into a rattlesnake, Well,
for us, it was if a coyote was trying to get in the cow pen or something. But, per Wisconsin law, cased and unloaded.
Yeah.
But I know whose cars and trucks in the parking lot had them in there.
Yeah.
And so did any potential shooter in the school. Not that there really was one. It was a fairly small area. But, if somebody got that inkling when I was in high school, they know that they wouldn't, like, the cops wouldn't get there. The cops would not deal with them.
Yeah.
They'd be mincemeat before the cops ever got there. So it is a little bit of a different situation for me post-Columbine. Columbine happened in the spring of my freshman year of high school. So we were all terrified at 99.
Okay.
So we were all terrified of it, but, nothing changed for us.
Yeah.
But with that being said, and the more I learn about this, the more questions that I have about it, because it sounds to me, from what I understand, the shooter shot through a window first, which, again, I haven't seen the inside of the school. I don't know if it was like our windows in our high school where it was just the one long strip window on the side with the handle, and why they couldn't reach in and turn it from the inside.
Yeah, I don't know.
They have to be able to open from the inside for fire safety reasons, even if they are locked.
Yeah, I looked on Google Maps, but I wasn't paying attention to the windows,
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could see, like, the street view or whatever.
And that's the other side of it. Why didn't, if there's a SWAT, because there was a Uvalde SWAT team, why didn't they snipe through the windows? Oh, well, there were kids in the room. We couldn't do that.
That's what snipers do. They shoot around. Like, I've seen police video of somebody being held by a bad guy like this, and the sniper hits the bad guy in the head, and the person is fine.
Shaken up and psychologically damaged for the rest of their life, but physically fine.
Well, I mean, it depends on how psycho they were when it happened.
So, yeah, and it's... The more I hear about this, the more questions I have. Now, the DOJ is launching a probe into Uvalde to see what it is that they can find about it.
Mm-hmm.
Merrick Garland's DOJ is doing that. What do you think the odds are off of that?
I mean, I guess we'll see. Like, you know, I don't really can't make a prediction.
Here's the one that I wanted to present to you, and this one kind of enraged me a little bit. Reading from the New York Post.
Zed was enraged with this too.
Cops handcuff mom amid Texas school shooting before she jumped the fence and ran inside to save her kids.
Insane.
An untrained Hispanic mother did what the police would not do.
Yeah, her kid was in there. You don't mess with the mama bear. Or the papa bear, for that reason. Mr. Zed and I were talking about this when we saw these videos of the police holding parents back. He's like, they would not be able to hold me. If I had to shoot through the police, I would go in there and save my children, you know?
Yeah.
I go to jail for the rest of my life, but it'd be worth it if my kid was alive, if I was able to take the shooter out and my kids were alive.
Yeah. And like you and I, neither of us have kids and we don't understand that connection. But I mean, even with I feel that with my nieces and nephew. There's a bond there, familial and genetically, that says, hey, you need to protect this.
I feel that with strangers' children's. You know what I mean? If there are children or animals or anything else that's helpless, in danger, a normal person with a normal brain feels the need to protect that. And these cops did not have that instinct at all, apparently. Or were just following orders? Like, would you, if you were a cop in this town, would you follow those orders? Heck no, I wouldn't. I would absolutely not follow those orders. It's insane.
No,
like,
I mean...
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Fire me, blackball me, keep me out of the force forever. I've lived 38 years. These kids are single digit.
Yeah. Yeah, the cop who broke orders and went in there and took the gunman out would get a job somewhere else in no time. Like either in another department being a cop somewhere else or just in general somewhere making a living to support his family.
But from what I've understand and from videos that I have seen around the scene, it was chaos. It was parents screaming at the police, do something, go in there. Help our kids.
Yeah, I don't know how you could. They were standing there for like an hour or two. It wasn't even like 15 minutes while they organized and figured out what they were. They were just standing there. And you know me, I support the police normally, but not in this situation. And supporting the police in any situation is kind of dumb. It's the same thing as not supporting the police in every situation. Every situation is different. This situation was dumb, and there's no need to support these police.
No, absolutely. Let's talk about some of the reaction to this, because, of course, what's the first thing in this country that we start to talk about when we see something like this? Gun control. And I mentioned it and I teased it before, but I wanted to talk about this Quartz article that came up and some of the inconsistencies that have even happened from this since then. Quartz put out an article a couple days after this saying, we ordered the same gun used in Uvalde. Here's how easy it was. And they show from the website the DDM4 V7 with a price tag of $1,870. Get financing for as low as $92.94 a month.
I like it. The collapsible stock?
It appears to be, yes.
Nice. It's got the rail to put your optics. It's very nice.
So, and this, they didn't give an author to this, which that is red flag to me number one.
It's because they don't want you doing an early life check.
But this is coming from Quartz staff. Now, a couple friends in a Discord server, which, those are evil and they spawn extremism.
Obviously.
When the federal agents help them, of course. But did do a look onto this and found who was tweeting about this. And it turned out that the person who wrote this article was a New York resident, which brings up even more problems because, according to the article, they tried to do this in Texas.
So they live in New York and they are trying to buy,
They tried to buy a gun in Texas, which that doesn't fly in and of itself. Well, I'll read into the article a little bit.
It's illegal.
But also, if we take this at face value and they try to get it to their local FFL dealer, this firearm is not
legal in New York.
I was going to say it's not New York compliant.
No, it doesn't have the fixed magazine with only 2 rounds in it. You can't have that.
Yeah. Flash suppressor on the end and rails on the top. Yeah, this is not a New York compliant firearm.
I mean, look at it. It's black and scary. Of course you can't have that in New York.
No armament manufacturer in the world would ship this to an FFL dealer in New York.
No, absolutely not.
But reading into this, after Tuesday's school shooting in Uvalde, Texas left 19 children and 2 adults dead, we wondered how difficult it was to order a DDM-4V7, one of the 2 rifles the gunman bought a few days after turning 18, according to reports. The answer? 5 clicks. The AR-style weapon, made by Georgia-based Daniel Defense, sells online for $18.70 plus tax. Shipping to a local gun shop is free. After clicking place order, we received an email confirming the purchase, promising to send a tracking number once the gun was on its way to the pickup point.
Yeah, do they understand that once they get to the pickup point, they have to do a background check and wait 3 days or however long?
They buried that in this article. They said at no time were we asked for proof of age or of a clean criminal record, both of which are legally required to buy a firearm.
Yeah, that's what happens at the... Sorry. This stuff pisses me off so much, Ed.
That will happen when we pick up the gun at a local licensed dealer.
Yeah.
Aside from that, it was a routine purchase, not unlike ordering a Lego set from Amazon or a pair of shoes from Zappos, except, of course, for the lethality of the project.
You have to go to a dealership and do a background check and fill out the paperwork and then do a waiting period if you're not licensed to carry in that. I know in my state I can go in and buy a gun the same day because I've done the background check through the state, through the county, and I have a concealed carry. So, but if you don't have that, you have to wait.
We knew exactly what we wanted based on a copy of the receipt the gunman shared online that was purchased by the Daily Dot, which is suspicious number 1 in and of itself. An Austin-based outlet that covers online culture, but decided shoppers can watch a video highlighting the rifle's features. Weighing just over 6 pounds, it's extremely maneuverable and a perfect addition to anybody's gun safe, according to the host.
I'd like to see this commercial.
There were also reviews. All 46 for the DDM-4V7 give it 5 stars, including one that calls it a terrific weapon. And gives a little bit of a history on Daniel Defense. And then at the very end, they tell us, under Texas law, buyers of rifles have to be 18 or older and have no felonies or domestic violence convictions, and under federal government requires a background check. We didn't get any notices or warnings about that during the checkout process. Elsewhere on its site, Daniel Defense promises it's 100% compliant 100% of the time. Texas Gun Experience, the local dealer we selected for pickup, as a New York resident, by the way.
Illegal.
Tell shoppers to be ready to show ID and complete a 3-page form for the background check, which is done on the spot by an FBI database accessible from the gun shop. And the article concludes saying, that's it. We'd ordered a gun. It won't be delivered to our doorstep like that Lego set or that pair of shoes. But this is long after anybody else the outrage mob has stopped reading.
Oh, yeah. They put that in the last order or the last paragraph. Ridiculous.
And to take it home, we'll have to fill out paperwork for a background check. In fact, you can't order it to your home, only to a licensed dealer. Still, the fact that shopping for a firearm does not feel noticeably different than ordering those everyday items is a telling commentary on the prevalence of guns in U.S. culture.
Every single person who advocates for gun control has no idea what they're talking about. They've never purchased a gun. These people didn't even purchase a gun. They just ordered it. They didn't go and pick it up because they don't live in Texas, so they can't go pick it up. They can't show up in Texas with a New York ID and pick up that gun. That's illegal. And whatever federally licensed shop they sent it to will not allow that to happen. It is.
Nor will they send it out to a New York-based firearms dealer because it's not New York compliant.
Because it has more than 2 rounds.
So that's the thing that they're starting to do with this too, and they're starting to go around and say, well, it's too easy to get a gun, and we have to put all these bills out to go try to make it harder to go get a gun.
Because the people who follow the laws are the ones doing guess what? Murder's already illegal. So if you're not following that law, what makes you think you're going to follow these new laws you're putting in place? They don't even know the laws that are already in place. I've heard people advocate for laws that are already that are already laws, and it's like, what? That's already a law. Why do you have a sign at your gun rally advocating for background checks? That's already a law.
I want to talk about this one here. So Mark Fisher tweeted out, invented for Nazi infantrymen, further developed by the U.S. military, the AR-15 was the Texas school shooter's weapon of choice. Linking to his Washington Post article, Mark Fisher is the editor-at-large, or I'm sorry, the senior editor, not the editor-at-large, for the Washington Post. This article made it past the editor and got published.
You know, we talked about the Washington Post earlier in this episode. We know how, sorry, I'm getting pop-ups. We know how accurate they are with their information.
Well, and I archived this article too, and just everything in this article is a lie.
Yeah.
The AR-15, the military-style rifle the gunman used to kill 17 people at a South Florida high school Wednesday, is at once a ferociously powerful weapon. This is, by the way, this is an older article. This is from 2018, but he reposted it now. A symbol of freedom and individualism, and an object of despairing worry about the future of democracy. It is, depending on which political or social camp you belong to, America's rifle, a way to control your destiny, or a killing machine that has no legitimate place in civilian life. And by the way, America's rifle and control your destiny were in quotes, and killing machine that has no legitimate place in civilian life is not.
Wow. People read this and eat it up. They eat it up. It's insane. Like I said a minute ago, anybody who's writing articles like this or advocating for more gun control have never owned or shot a firearm. They have no idea what they're talking about. It's ridiculous.
Well, I like this line here. AR-15 rifles and their cousins are among the nation's most popular and profitable weapons. The AR fires one bullet with each pull of the trigger, thus semi-automatic, but it's easily modified to shoot continuously until the trigger is released.
Is it really that it's easily modified? Really? Like that? Like, I don't know anybody who's modified their AR-15. Plus, that's illegal. That's illegal. There's already a law against that.
A promotion for a $500 conversion device assures customers that a new drop-in trigger promises to turn your basic AR into a nearly full auto rifle with no need for the onerous National Firearms Act licensing process.
Bullshit. That's so illegal. You go to jail for that. You get fined up the wazoo. You go to jail. That's just a straight-up lie.
The AR-15, initials come not from assault rifle, but from its original manufacturer, Armalite, is a descendant of the machine guns Nazi infantrymen used against Soviet forces in World War II.
I mean, I don't know the history, so is that right or is that not?
No, that's a lie.
Well, I mean, I could have guessed that it's a lie, but...
It was made by a California stoner.
Interesting.
17 years after the end of World War II. 17 years after there are no more Nazis.
Yeah.
The U.S., the weapon traces its origins to a contract the Pentagon gave in 1957 to Armalite, which designed it from plastic and aircraft-grade aluminum rather than wood and heavier metal than traditional rifles. The most popular such weapon worldwide is the AR-15's Russian relative, the AK-47, which dates to 1947 and has also been widely used by terrorists and mass murderers.
Are they confusing ARs and AKs? Is that what's happening with their history lesson there?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Okay.
Which I had to give a lesson to somebody on Twitter about that too, because he says, well, it's impossible to buy an AK-47 in the U.S. I said, no, it's not. I can go to the gun store and buy one right now.
I could too.
And
since I have already done the background check, I could bring it home tonight.
But the thing of it is it is semi-automatic, not fully automatic.
True.
It is fully U.S. compliant. It is not select fire and has no ability to be turned into select fire without major milling.
Yeah, you need like a drill press and stuff.
And it jams up as commonly as its automatic cousins, which means it's very ill-advised and it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Plus, it was made made in a foreign country, so
it's illegal if you don't get the like $2,000 tax stamp or whatever.
For an AK, for a semi-auto AK, no, it's not.
No, for a fully, like if you modify.
Oh, for a full auto, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the propaganda they're trying to push off on us about this. And the laws are coming out as usual. Chuck Schumer got roasted for the fact that he tabled a vote that wasn't going to happen on this on a gun control bill that had passed the House already because he knows he doesn't have the votes.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to go out on his vacation.
I hate that guy.
They did. Ron Johnson had a federal bill that was going through my senator talking about single entry points in schools, talking just a bit about hardening up and putting resource officers in schools, coming with funding from the federal level, which I don't agree with. But it's better than anything the Democrats are putting out right now. And Schumer wouldn't even bring it down to the floor for a vote because the only thing that they talk about is gun control.
Yep. Chuck Schumer's a clown. He's like the leader of clown world. Him and Nancy.
And then Adam Kinzinger had this take that I thought that you'd be interested in. Now, keep in mind, Adam Kinzinger is a Republican, quote, in the district just outside of Chicago. According to the reports that I see, he actually lives just about 5 miles outside of Joliet.
Oh, interesting. I've been to a casino, I think, in Joliet.
Just far enough into his district that he can be in his district, but still a Chicago Republican.
Yeah. Joliet's not Chicago, by the way.
No, it's not. Well, it's still in the Chicago districts, though.
Politically, it drives me nuts.
Politically, it is.
From Joliet or LaSalle, and they're like, "Oh, I'm from Chicago." I'm like, "No, you're really not."
Yeah, I got that a little bit when I was first planning on moving out to Boston. My girlfriend at the time, when I first met her, that said she was from Boston. Then it turns out she's from like 30 miles west.
Yeah, that's not Boston.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different, like, I understand wanting to be associated. Like, I'll say if I'm meeting a stranger that I live near Atlanta, but I can understand how much easier it'd be to say, oh yeah, I'm from Atlanta. But where I live and Atlanta are two very different places. You know what I mean?
Well, when I lived in Massachusetts, if I'd have lived 2 miles north, I could have said I was in Boston.
Yeah.
But I didn't, because I didn't live in Boston. I lived in
That's
Walpole.
Good. People who are from Boston would probably get ticked off.
But this is what Kinzinger had to say. And he had a couple bad takes in this particular interview, but this is one of the compromises that congressional Republicans are trying to come out with. Let's listen.
Mm-hmm.
One Republican who has changed his position on guns is Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. He joins us now. Congressman Kinzinger.
I didn't catch that this morning. He said Illinois. I didn't catch that this morning when I heard that. I just caught that now.
Let me just ask you straight up. We heard from Senator Murphy that he thinks that something different may be happening this time, that he has had far more encouraging conversations with the Republicans now than even after Newtown. What's your sense? I mean, you're obviously willing to deal on this, but do you think that something will get done?
It does seem that way. I mean, it's first off, I want to commend Chris for one specific thing. I've known him since he served in the House. It is easy in this business to start throwing out things that Republicans aren't going to do and just make it a campaign issue for November. I think he is really, and it doesn't mean it's not going to continue to be a campaign issue, but he is really focusing on what can I actually do at this moment. He gets a lot of credit for that. That's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to do. So I do think we're on the track to maybe getting something. It's not, look, I mean, the reality is I actually think that raising if we can't get it done, Chris is right not to focus on it now. But I think that raising the age of gun purchase to 21 is a no-brainer. If you look at the Parkland shooting, you look at Buffalo, you look at this shooting, these are people under the age of 21. We know that the human brain develops and matures a lot between the age of 18 and 21. We just raised, without really so much as a blink, the age of purchasing cigarettes federally to 21. I think we need to get there eventually, but I commend Chris on focusing what is possible now. That's important.
I'm okay with this if you change the age. Like, if you're going to change the age that you can purchase a gun to 21, we need to change the age of the draft and when people can join the military. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that because, and voting.
And driving.
I mean, I don't know about driving, but...
I would go with driving, too, just to...
If you, first of all, if your brain's not fully developed, why are you able to join the military? Why are you able to make a 4-year commitment to the United States military?
One Republican who has changed...
Started talking again.
Like, you want to train these 18-year-olds to shoot guns, but they're not allowed to own it, to own one? Mm-hmm. Ridiculous. But I mean, I really don't mind them changing the age to 21. If everything is the voting, the drinking, which they've done the drinking, and the gun ownership all need to be the same. The age of the draft, and not just the age of the draft, the age that you are legally allowed to join.
Well, and I guess one of the things that that goes with that too is when he said the cigarette thing, I thought that was wrong too. In fact, I think the drinking age being at that point is wrong. There should be, well, I guess I kind of go with what you had to say about that. There should be one specific age that all of your rights are conveyed to you at that point. And we need to be in agreement on what that age is. If it has to be 21, I don't like the idea, but I think it's, especially if you're considered an adult at 18 and you can move out. But yeah, there should be one conveying age and one line in the sand that we sit at.
Here's the issue. If they change the age that people can join the military to 21, people will graduate high school, find something else to do, and people won't join the military. So they will never do this. Like,
right.
It would be very detrimental to them, because between the ages of an 18 and 21, you're either going to go to college or you're going to get a job somewhere else, and you're not going to leave your job to go join the military at 21. Unless you really want to join the military. Like, that's your lifelong dream as a child, to be, a soldier. Like, those are the only people they get.
All right. I want to talk a bit about something else that happened, and kind of looking on the other side of this. Looking onto the side of the side of the story that they don't want you to hear about. This happened in West Virginia.
Okay.
A woman killed a man who fired a rifle into a party crowd in West Virginia. So this was, I believe this was Friday night. A woman in West Virginia fatally shot a man who began firing an AR-style rifle into a crowd of people that had gathered for a party, authorities say. Dennis Butler was killed Wednesday after he pulled out a rifle and began shooting at dozens of people attending a birthday and graduation party outside an apartment complex in the city of Charleston, police said in a statement. The woman who was attending the party drew a pistol and fired, killing Butler. The statement said no one at the party was injured.
This happens a lot.
After fatally shooting Butler, a woman waited along with several witnesses for police to arrive, and all cooperated with the investigation, authorities said. Hazelet says no charges will be filed against the woman.
Yeah, good. This sort of thing happens more often than is reported. And if you look for them, you can find them, the news stories, but they're just so hush-hush about it. But the most recent study that the CDC did on this subject said that there's anywhere from 500,000 to like 2 million defensive uses of firearms by, legal defensive uses of, like, it saves anywhere from 500,000 to 2 million lives. And it's hard for them to get exact numbers on that, because a lot of times that's not reported. Because all you have to do, somebody pulls a gun on you, you pull your gun, and they run away. And then it's not even recorded anywhere,
Yeah, and it's, I mean, that's an important aspect to that. And this is one of the things, too, where I don't want to give up anything of the ability to defend myself, either from the government or from a guy like this, who was, by the way, not allowed to carry that weapon because he is a convicted felon.
Oh, the guy in West Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not following the laws. You know, what makes anybody think that the criminal who's going to come shoot up a graduation party or whatever it was is going to follow the new laws you put in place? They're not. The only thing we can do at this point, there are too many guns in the United States, and the only thing we can do at this point is have an armed populace, which obviously from the videos we showed a little bit earlier of the police doing nothing as children were being murdered, you need to arm yourself. Because the cops aren't coming. The cops are not going to help you.
That's one of the things, and this kind of really made me happy, because and one of the aspects of this is the fact that the Republicans have finally seen that their black the blue grift is just that.
Yeah.
And I don't go, and I know that I've drawn contention with Helton, and I even said that before when it was first coming out, and I said, okay, well, praise the hero police officer who actually did go in and put himself in harm's way to get between the shooter.
Off duty.
Oh yeah, and it turned out that he wasn't a local. He drove an hour in.
No,
I still have praise for that guy. Yeah, I still praise the guy for it, but
absolutely, he got shot in the head, didn't he? Grazed.
I think he got grazed in the head. Yeah, because I saw the hat.
Yeah.
With the graze mark on it.
I saw his head actually, like he has staples in his head because it actually grazed his skull.
Oof.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cops are not on your side.
It's not that they're not on your side. It's that they're following orders. Mm-hmm. You know, it depends on who's given the orders if they're on your side or not. Like the cops are not all like these cops that were in Uvalde. They're not all like that. There's a chance you have good cops in your area. There's also a chance that somebody's going to give them an order that they're going to obey to stand down. So you got to be responsible for your own protection.
And yeah, I don't want to have to sit and think about, okay, is this going to be the time where they are standing down, or is this going to be the time that they do? And we are seeing Republicans look at this and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be backing the blue all the time.
Yeah.
And some of the libertarians are out there that are posting up memes that say if the police aren't there or have no duty to protect you, then they're put there to oppress you.
And where I live, like if I call the police here to my house, if somebody breaks in the door right now, and Mr. Zed was not in the basement. And really, in this room right now, all I have is a knife. I don't even have a gun in here. If I call the cops, I live in unincorporated my town. So that town's cops are not coming to my house. I have to wait for the county police, wherever they might be in this whole big county, to get here, which is going to take way longer than a city police. Like if I lived inside city limits somewhere, you know?
And that's how it was where I was growing up, too, in Redacted, Wisconsin, of 300 people.
Yeah.
There was no city metro police force there.
Yeah. Yeah, and the town that I live closest to, which you know, does have city police, but they don't come, you don't see them out here. You see them in the little downtown area, like in incorporated my town, you know?
So that's what we're seeing of this. And it really does seem a lot like there's more to this story. And it seems we haven't even touched on the Discord server. Like a lot of this was orchestrated to come back out and get a talking point and take the focus off the Sussman trial.
When I started reading that stuff that 4chan was finding out, I'm like, no, like I said when we first started this segment, I really believed it at first because of the optics of it. And then I started reading that stuff. And the fact that they have a link in between Buffalo and this, and on that server, it was called like the day after Buffalo. They said, oh, Texas in 13 days or something along those. I forget the exact wording. And there was federal agents in that Discord server. Something is happening. Something's happening. I don't know what it is. I don't want to speculate. I do want to speculate, but something's happening.
All right. Well, we have eaten up our entire time slot talking about Uvalde.
So we're not going to talk about Gap Tooth McGee?
We're not going to talk about Gaptooth McGee. But I do, because this is the last time we're doing this, have a little bit of a surprise stupidity for you, but this one's a little bit more heartwarming. I enjoyed this one.
All right.
And I wanted to share this with you before we took off. So on the other side of this one came to us from CNN this week. This was kind of trending for a little while too, but this one came to us from CNN, of all places. 2-year-old orders 31 cheeseburgers after mom leaves phone unlocked.
Oh, the kid
CNN
just wanted
reports.
a burger.
A Texas mother learned an important lesson about leaving her phone unlocked after her 2-year-old son accidentally ordered 31 McDonald's cheeseburgers from DoorDash. On Monday, Kelsey Golden, who works in the media marketing for a school, was working on the school's annual yearbook on her computer at home. She was transferring photos from her phone to her computer when her 2-year-old son Barrett started yanking on her phone, she told CNN. Golden explained that her son loves the camera feature on her phone. He likes to look at his reflection, she said, instead of playing games or doing other activities on the phone. But this time, Barrett didn't just stare at his reflection. He starts pressing the screen, swinging it around like his arm is a roller coaster, she said. Then, Golden received a notification that her DoorDash order was taking longer than usual, which was unusual, because although she sometimes ordered DoorDash for her 2 older children's lunches at school, that morning she had packed their lunches. A work colleague furthered the confusion when she told Golden that her children were indeed eating their packed lunches at school, no DoorDash in sight. Right as she said that, I was outside playing with Barrett on the porch, she says, and a car pulls in, and I was like, what? So I went over to it, and she gets out a giant McDonald's bag, and it's like 31 cheeseburgers. At first, Golden said she thought the delivery driver was at the wrong house. Then it dawned on me that Barrett was playing with my phone, she said. I went back and looked at my phone, and an order was placed at that time that he was playing with the phone. I thought, oh my gosh, he really did this. The accidental order was even more out of place because no one in our family really even likes cheeseburgers. So she posted on her town Facebook page offering free cheeseburgers, and it kind of blew up from there. One woman came by, she was pregnant and wanted 6 of them, she said. No judgment, she added, and she donated some cheeseburgers to neighbors. The total order came up to $91.70, in part because Barrett left a really generous 25% tip, said Golden. Golden hopes that her son's fluke order helps to brighten some people's day. I hope it spreads a little bit of humor in this dark world.
You know, when we first started this story, I thought, I'm very skeptical of this after hearing the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So she's claiming that he was just accidentally pressing buttons.
Apparently.
And ordered, or he was looking at the phone and placed the order as a toddler. Because accidentally placing, like, have you ordered DoorDash before? There's a lot of steps. You have to do the payment process. You have to put your credit card number in. Like,
well, I don't use DoorDash. I use Eat Street, but it's a similar kind of thing. And my credit card is saved under my Eat Street.
Yeah,
so.
But you still have to like pick the card, and then like that's I want to use my Visa or MasterCard or whatever, and then you have to put in the 3-digit code on the back of the card. Like, there's no way this was accidental. Either the kid did it, or this is a hoax for good. Like, this is a hoax feel-good story because it's just swinging it around, and he pressed the tip button. Like, come on now. How old was this kid?
2.
Nah, I don't buy it.
You don't buy it?
I was all in thinking it was like a 4-year-old that wanted a cheeseburger. 2-year-old accidentally pressing buttons. There's no way. Nope. Didn't it may have happened, but she ordered those cheeseburgers.
You think?
The kid, yeah, there's no way the 2-year-old just knows your 3-digit code on the back of your credit card and was able to type it in at the right time and press the right button.
See, I don't know about that because Eat Street has a 3-digit code. Like, I just have to click payment on my Eat Street. I don't have to put my CVV code into it.
On DoorDash, you have to. If I'm not mistaken, I order from the little taco place up at the corner all the time, and you have to.
Well, you'll be the expert on this then, so because
I don't know. Anybody in the chat know for sure, but either way, whether you have to put the 3-digit, like even if you don't have to put the 3-digit code in, like there's still a process where you have to pick the payment. You have to like hit the tip button. You have to confirm the order. Like it asks you like twice, like, is this order correct? And then confirm payment. I don't buy it. Sorry, I ruined your feel good story. I totally ruined it. I meant to say, oh, that's so cute. The kid burger, whatever. But I think this was for the gram. I'm pretty sure this was a stunt for the gram.
Well, unfortunately. Like I said, you'd be the expert on the DoorDash side because I don't. Yeah. I use Eat Street, and I only use a desktop too. Like I have it on my phone, but I've never used it on my phone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Seems fishy to me. Any parents out there, you think your 2-year-old could do that accidentally? I'm skeptical. I'm as skeptical about that as I am about these two things with Buffalo and Texas. So, pretty skeptical.
All right. Hey, look. Now they're calling the Canadian truckers Nazis on my Twitter timeline.
Well, duh. It's Twitter. What do you think was going to happen?
And it's funny because he's telling me that the citizenry were marching with Nazi flags or flags that stating the PM should be murdered, dancing on war graves, parking their rigs in front of old folks' home and blowing their horns 24/7 for weeks, throwing rocks at ambulances, calling nurses health care sluts. I feel like I would have known about all of those. The old folks home and the horns, obviously, we knew about. But I feel like I would have known about all the rest of those because that would have been bait for front page of CNN right then and there. Absolutely. If all those things were happening. And Absolutely. You were with me. You were working with me by that time. We didn't talk about any of that.
Nope. No, and we definitely would have known about that for sure.
I would have been calling their asses out. I would have been questioning CNN's integrity, but I would have been calling their asses out.
Yeah.
Press X'd it out. All right. Number 2 says alligators love chapstick and pennies. Ron Helton is here. Number 2 asked what I was drinking, and I gave the concoction, of course.
All of that, what he said, plus vodka, I'm pretty sure.
No, unfortunately, actually, I have to get up in the morning, so.
It sounds like it probably would be good with vodka, though, wouldn't it?
Vinegar and vodka together? No.
No. Replace the vinegar with like the blue Mio or whatever with vodka. Yeah.
Your mom says, how the heck do you survive getting shot in the face? I would say
it actually happens a lot. Yeah. A lot of people get shot in the head or face and survive. Like that congresswoman in Arizona got shot in the head and survived.
Mr. Zed said she was also in Germany. Would anybody here know how to alert the German authorities in a reasonable amount of time? Axle shaft is $2,500.
I wonder how he knows that.
He probably Googled it.
Mm.
You can get it for $100 at the junkyard, though. So, Mr. Zed says air conditioning goes out, fresh air is better. Number 2 says, nope, never had any AC in school growing up. They are in Texas. It's hot as fuck there. Why would the door be propped open?
Well, if it was an inside door, that makes more sense, but...
I don't remember if like, in the English wing of our high school, there was a computer lab down there, and I know that was air conditioned because I know a few people that got in school suspension just so they could sit in the air conditioning on a hot day.
Nice.
That room was air conditioned. I don't remember if the English classrooms were air conditioned or not, but I mean that was the only air conditioning we had was in that room. They probably had that air conditioned so the computers wouldn't overheat. Yep. They didn't care if the kids overheated. They just didn't want the equipment to overheat. And of course it was late 90s, early 2000s where, a computer like the massive size of the one that I had now was overheat prone all the time too, and it was. Now, like half the mass of this computer, which is the same size as what they were in the 90s, is fans, literally. Yeah. Number 2 says that's how it is in Indiana as well, or so I hear. They all had guns in their trucks.
Yeah. Not in Chicago.
Your mom says, I knew I'd moved to Georgia 20 years ago when I saw a red pickup truck with a gun in the back window in the Starbucks drive-through line.
I think she texted me about that when it happened, if I recall correctly. I think I was still living in Chicago at the time.
Mr. Zed says Combine happened in 96. No, I'm pretty sure that was 99 because I remember that.
Oh, he corrected himself.
Yep, 4/20 of 99. Let's see. Number 2 says they would have to shoot me to keep me from getting to my kids.
I believe that. I've seen her protect her kids.
Ron Helton says, what a boob, completely clueless. And then he has to go mow his lawn. Mr. Zed says 1954 to 64 was the original production dates, unless it was designed for the Ukrainian Nazis.
Possibly. They've been around longer since then.
Number 2 called you out. It says, that's how you know Katie's old. She used the phrase up the wazoo.
It's because I'm trying not to swear, so I make up different words. Not because I'm old.
Mr. Zed says Eugene Stoner scaled it down from the AR-10.
I'd just like to point out that number 2 is the same age as me.
Oh. Apparently, number 2 likes how knowledgeable I am when she reads my Twitter posts. So
she's right. That. She's absolutely right.
Full Auto needs a class 3 license, I believe. General Savage is here with, I'm sorry, but a little bit of Fed posting. I don't know if I can do that on YouTube.
No Fed posting. No Fed posting in the chat, please. Thank you. Have a nice day. I do enough Fed talking on the stream. You don't need to Fed post in the chat, too. Come on.
Number 2 says, Adam Kinzinger is really the worst type of Republican because he's a super rhino.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good word for it. Super rhino.
A Blind Fear says, come on, it's 10 rounds in New York.
Is it?
It is.
I thought it was like 5.
No, the moron said it in his manifesto. That's how I knew that one, actually.
There's somewhere, and it might be California, where the magazine has to be fixed to the gun. You can't have a detachable magazine. That's insane. What's the point of having an AR if the magazine is fixed to the gun and only can take a certain amount of rounds?
I think that's the point that they're getting to, is so that you can't find a point to having an AR.
So dumb.
Well, and like a removable magazine is what makes it the most dangerous thing in existence, too, right?
Yeah, right. That and a handle to hold on to the front of it makes it very dangerous. Flying Beer is here.
Blind Fear says, I used to hear shaving the fire pin will convert it to automatic. And Mr. Zed said, shaving the firing pin. I haven't heard that in a long time. Your mom says, teenage drivers are a significant risk, but if you live in a place like Zed, there's no public transport, so either mom or dad has to be around or grandma to be the kid taxi.
Yeah, that's why I think the driving age needs to be... Like, especially they have certain laws in place here where the kids can only drive during daylight hours and they can't have friends with them and, things like that to keep it under control. But in places where there's public transportation, there's no need for kids to drive.
I may have started driving much, much earlier than 16.
I may have started driving much, much later than 16. I didn't get my license till I was 23. So there was public transportation, and there's nowhere to put a car in Chicago. So what's the point of going through the classes or whatever? I never took a driving class in my life. I just went and took the test because I was moving to Georgia, and I decided I needed a license to move to Georgia, so I got a license.
I gotta call you out on that, because apparently there is a place to put a car in Chicago, because the one time that I said, you know what, I want to go see what's in Chicago, and I got in my truck because my ex-girlfriend at the time was being a bitch. I got my truck and I drove to Chicago, and I drove around for an hour trying to find a place to park, and there were cars every place to park, and I said, fuck this. And I got back on 90 and got back the hell out of there.
Yeah, exactly. There's not even street parking. Like, you're very lucky to find street parking. So.
There was street parking. It's just all the places had a car in them.
Oh, yeah, no, you can street park, but you have to have the sticker that corresponds with the number that's on the sign. Like, you can only street park if you live there, and there's only so many street parking places. And if you live in an area like where there's apartments or something, there's no street parking.
Yeah, it blew. Like, I went down there and I drove down into the loop and I went over to Lakeshore Drive and I'll go up Lakeshore Drive by the Navy Pier. There's sure to be a place to park up there, and which is impressive that I found the Navy Pier without a map, but I found it.
For less than like $100. Like, maybe you might be able to pay for parking somewhere for like $20 an hour.
There's sure to be a place to park down here, and there wasn't. Then I went back down, I got back on the loop and sat in the loop for an hour because apparently at that time on a Sunday was the time that everybody else was leaving Chicago at the same time.
Yeah, sounds about right. I mean, I used to go downtown all the time as like a teenager and like in my early 20s or whatever, but we'd just jump on the train. We'd go into downtown, we'd sit on the rocks at Belmont Harbor, or we'd, smoke pot down at the lakeshore, whatever.
Before Beyonce 3 broke up with me, we were actually planning on going and spending a day and night down because I've never been to an aquarium, and I love aquariums, but I've never been to one. We were going to go see the Shed, and we were planning on like parking in like Elgin or something and taking the train down there.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Get on the, what's it called, the Metro?
But then the commie coup happened, and then she left me. So I've still never been to the aquarium.
Yeah,
all right.
She was saying in the chat, we used to take the bus and the L everywhere. Like, you can get all over the city without a driver's license.
Mr. Zed says, kid ordered a supersized Happy Meal. LMAO. Your mother had some very inspiring words for us here. Here's your feel-good story. You guys are a great team, and splitting up has been done graciously on both sides. Looking forward to meeting you, Ed. I think she means Ed.
She does.
And Mr. Zed says, what a way to smash the last surprise stupidity to dust.
It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. I call it as I see it. I'm calling the balls and strikes here. That's how I saw it.
All right. I think it's time to play the music.
It's kind of sad, isn't it? We'll stream together again.
It'll be on an upbeat note, though, so.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get together for the next State of the Union.
Well, it's the end of an era. I've not had a Monday show except for a couple holidays since, God, it's been since 2019.
It's been a long time.
No, 2018. I'm sorry, but this is the right thing to do right now, and I may come back to this at some point too, and may do something more of this after I'm more secured in my schedule and everything. But yeah, there are some things that I need to do before I can come back out here. Contemporary is not ending. I want to remind everybody of that. Contemporary is still going to be Monday through Friday. Holidays, days off, vacation days. I'm sure that, possibly if it is a holiday too, I've got somebody else who can come in and do a sub every once in a while.
Possibly.
Somebody who already knows the passwords to get into everything.
I do have all the passwords.
So, with that, we're heading out of here for the evening and signing off for the final time over here on KTZed Redemption. Thank you, everybody, for the memories. Thank you, Katie, for giving me 21 weeks of doing this and discussing the news with me, and also kind of pushing me in the direction of I do need to do something else and fix some other things in my life to make sure that once this economic downturn comes here, I'm not doing the same thing I did on my last economic downturn.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
With that, we're going to head out here. I'll be back here 7:30 tomorrow morning for more Contemporary. Come join us, or join me rather, on this same channel. Before we head out of here, where can they find you?
You can find me on YouTube at KTZed, and on Twitter is probably the best spot to get all my links, which is KTZ is not here. So find me on Twitter, and I will post updates if I'm going to post anything on YouTube.
And, as I always said, for the last 3 years, Never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. KTZed, lead everybody out with some last words.
I hope everybody has a great week, and I will see you on the other side of the internet. Bye, everybody.
Take care.